So here's the right side of the interior of the Aurora Gotha G.V bomber as it stands now on Sunday afternoon. The only piece that came on this side of the aircraft in the model kit was this front divider bulkhead that separates the commander's area of the cockpit from the pilot's area. So I fashioned 2 additional dividers out of evergreen plastic. There'll be a 3rd divider right at the back here, but I haven't crafted that one yet. I put together a side railing and cross members there, posts, whatever. And the fuel tank, which goes in this section of the Gotha G.V, actually it's supposed to be stacked fuel tanks. I had 2 Sopwith Camel fuel tanks that I kludged together to make one longer one. Now I'm going to fashion a replica of that out of evergreen plastic, since I don't want to buy any more Revell Camel kits just to kit bash for the fuel tanks. And that will be stacked underneath. There's top and bottom fuel tank in this section. The rear gunner goes in here, along with a seat and a few other odds and ends. So that's how the right side of the fuselage looks right now. I'm crafting it side by side and, of course, test fitting each time I add something to either side to make sure that I don't have a fit problem when I seal it all up. Now, the left side, the only pieces that came were the seat there, and that part of the front part of the instrument panel. I modified it and put in actual instruments, of course, but there are side instruments, gauges. I don't know what they all are, but they're there. So I crafted that out of some beautiful aftermarket photo etched, married to evergreen plastic. I have to clean up a bit of the gunk underneath there because I had to carve out and burr out some of the intruding plastic, but we'll get that neater. That ugly looking weld there won't show because I call it a weld, but attachment point, that is where the first divider or bulkhead will fit in over from the other side. So that won't be seen. There will obviously be a joystick with a steering wheel and rudder pedals coming in here. The floor, of course, is attached over on this one here, and it fits underneath. And these, what do I want to say? I was going to say pipes, but they're not pipes. Struts, spars, frame, the frame. These frame pieces, of course, will be fitted in here to basically mirror what's over on this side. There won't be, I don't think, any bombs in the interior because the bomb bay had been converted to an area for fuel tanks, but there will be some other odds and ends that are going in, especially around the commander's station up front here, which is largely at this point still unfinished. So that's what's going on there. Now, there's a lot of downtime when you're working with oil paint, waiting for things to dry, because if you don't wait for them to dry, there are problems. So I wanted to revisit the pilot situation, and I had narrowed down the choices for the pilot to 2 really lovely resin figures that I had in the stash. This guy here, who frankly I can't remember if he was German or RFC, but certainly the early part of the war, probably a fighter pilot. He's wearing a leather jacket, breeches, and the long boots, not bundled up for 15 or 16,000 feet. A real nice sculpt, but I decided against him because of his pose, knowing that I'd have to basically destroy that left arm, probably cut off the right arm and reposition it. I want to save this fellow for another plane where I can basically use him without too much surgery and ruin a very nice sculpt. So I had decided on this guy. And this guy, of course, has got his arms tucked in, and it is definitely a Great War German pilot head. But I married it to a body, which I realized afterwards, which was no big deal. I cemented it on and did a little cleaning up and then primed and zenithal primed. But looking closer, I realized, well, I've married a World War I pilot head to a World War II RAF pilot. That's definitely a World War II jacket, and those are World War II pants and boots. Now, frankly, none of that's going to show, but, you know, when it comes to certain things, I'm a rivet counter. I'm not a rivet counter when it comes to squadron markings or camouflage details or a whole lot of other things, really. But when it comes to getting the pilots right and authentic, yeah, I get a little bit anal retentive. So I remembered when I went over and looked at my 148 scale planes that I had this lovely resin figure pilot, really nice. That's Ernst Udet in his one of his Albatross D5s that he flew. This came in a beautiful kit from Edward called Du Doch Nicht, a specialty kit, limited edition, with Udet and 3 planes, a Fokker DR1, the Albatross D5, Fokker D7, but only one resin figure, which I used for the D5 build, and I'm very, very pleased. However, and this probably won't come as a surprise, I bought a second Du Doch Nicht box, which has been unassembled. So there's a big, big ass box in the stash with got 3 kits, and sure enough, the resin figure for Udet was in there. And I always wanted to put him back in, or that figure back in another plane. So I'm going to use Ernst, and he's going to be moonlighting as a Gotha pilot in the spring, summer of 1918. And in fact, I have assembled him, which basically meant attaching the left arm, just the 2 pieces, really, really nice sculpt, and cleaned him up and primed and zenithal primed him. So this is the guy I will be painting up for the pilot when I'm waiting for oil paint to dry. And that's where things stand. I should have, by the time I do the next video, I should have all of the interior details done, and maybe this will actually be closed up by that point in time. I'm waiting for some evergreen plastic grab bag stuff that might have closer to the right size plastic I need to fashion that fuel tank. Otherwise, I've got the bits and pieces that I need to fill in the rest of this interior here, and then do some cleanup here, and I think it's going to look pretty good, that part. Then we'll get on to, building the airplane, the exterior. But I actually have put cement to styrene, this time now. So pieces are actually attached. Pilot is finally picked. And as for the crew, I'm going to be using, the commander's going to be this guy. I ended up breaking off, unfortunately, one of his feet, but I think he needs to be a little shorter anyway. So commander is still in zenithal prime, and one of these 2 guys will end up being the rear gunner. Okay, everybody got that? Thanks for watching, folks. Take care.